Hello everyone, my name is Stanley St. Bros, and today we're going to be talking about Why I Write by George Orwell. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Alright, Why I Write by George Orwell. Now, this work, very interesting work here, a lot of things are happening. Within this collection of essays, we really have to look at, well, why does George Orwell write? Uh, what are the things that he writes about, and well, again, why does he write? And again, these essays are very complex, and George Orwell's works are always very complex. I mean, this man, he's really good at writing, especially when we look at his books like Animal Farm and 1984. I mean, there's a lot that's being said. There's a lot that's being, some concepts, some core concepts that he really targets. Um, Now, at the core of these essays and the things that he writes about here, we're talking about why certain things happen. Why do humans group themselves the way that they do? And what's really fascinating is that humans, we always group ourselves in hierarchies. You think about the types of governments, the types of societies that exist around the world. There's a lot of things that you have to um, open your eyes to. And what I mean by that is every single group of human beings, no matter what country, we always have some type of hierarchy, some type of structure where there's always some class or some group at the top. You always have a middle class, and you always have, I guess you could say, the poor class, the peasants, however you want to call them. But no matter what type of government, no matter the type of leadership you have, this is something that always comes about. Now, Orwell, he doesn't, he pretty much he says the good things about these things and which one he thinks is the best. I mean, he talks about socialism in England. He talks about capitalism. He talks about why the world wars happen and what caused them and what movements in society and what societal attitudes cause them to happen. And he makes a lot of sense in them. Personally, I don't believe that socialism works. I think pieces of socialism work. I mean, if you think about the United States, we have 50 states. Each state has its own government. We have the federal government, and there's several programs to help the unfortunate or the poor class or people who need help. There's food programs and stipend programs and all types of benefits for people who are in different circumstances. And you need these programs because, again, if you didn't have these programs, a lot of people would be in horrible conditions. And when you have a class of people that don't have enough to survive, it's not safe for anybody else. Because, again, history repeats itself. And one thing that humans should learn from history is that when you have a bottom class that has nothing to live for and they're not getting enough food, enough money, enough shelter, and there's no satisfaction or no comfortable way of living, well, the bottom class always seeks to change the game, flip the board over. Because if you're playing a game and the game is rigged and the game is unfair, what do? You flip the game board over, you destroy it, and you seek for a new game. And so, socialism, from my perspective, I think you need it to keep the masses happy. It's kind of like, the Colosseum in Rome. You want to keep the masses, you want to keep them drunk, you want to keep them well fed, you want to keep them happy, you want to keep them entertained. As long as the bottom class has a way of living and their standard of life, the cost of life is reasonable, they will stay um, and content. They're okay with their living conditions. But if they're unsatisfied, if they feel that they're being taken advantage of, if they feel like what's rightfully theirs is being taken away from them, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much you think that you've risen above the masses, they will drag you back down. Just look at the revolutions in France. Look at just look at the history of Europe and all the kings and queens and all the classes over the course of history. It's always been bloody and nasty, and you don't mess with the peasants because the peasants always win. All right. Because well, my funny joke here is like if the upper class gets um, too arrogant, they will get pezzed. All right, they will get pezzed with the peasants. All right, enough of these jokes. But where I write by George Orwell, it is thought provoking. He makes you think about society. The hierarchical system. You can't beat it. I mean, capitalism. At the end of the day, if we don't beat around the bush, it's all about money. You want a society that can produce jobs, that can produce work, and people can make money and have some type of a life. The imperialist structure, colonization, the empires of the past. They're good for a time, but like I personally, I do think that the British Empire was good for the planet. It allowed, you know, to it allowed for one thing. English is all over the world, and if it wasn't for the British Empire, that would not have happened. English is you know English is one of the languages that from China to the Americas, it's spoken everywhere. So there's so much good that has come of that in terms of connecting different cultures and connecting different regions of the world. From India to the United States to the Caribbean, you're gonna find English. Again, there are some goods that come out of empires, the Roman Empire, the British Empire. I mean, Napoleon and his conquest. I mean, the spreading of ideas and languages, and it's shaped the world in certain ways. So again, you see, when you go into Orwell's work and why he writes, it really it's a bundle of things that are tied together that have shaped the planet. But at its core, these writings. Well, let's talk about the writings. He in one essay he talks about um that when we write, we should be honest, we should be truthful, and we shouldn't just be talking about platitudes. All right. A lot of times when people write, they talk about platitudes. You write what people want to hear, especially in college and high school and in the educational system. You just write what gets you the A, you write what gets you the A, you throw a quote in there somewhere to tie it all together like a pretty bow. You put in some citations, and if it follows logically and you make a good argument, you pass your class. But Orwell, he talks about the writers should be invested into their writing. They should be conveying what's really happening. They shouldn't put in fluff and try to just cater to the masses. Cater to your group. Cater to what you think you're, because like sometimes you write for the people, or you could write to the people. And that's one thing I think we're the problem we're facing with society today, is that a lot of news sources are writing to the people and not for the people, because a lot of news sources are telling you what to think, not what's happening or what is. And when you're writing to people to tell them what to think, well, people are not dumb, because what's happening to them, their reality is true. I mean, you can feel the economy in your pockets. All right, if things are pricey, you're gonna feel that in your pockets. If laws are being voted into law, bills are being voted into law, and it's affecting your life, you are living it. So, and if the news is lying to you, the reality, the truth always stays the truth. No matter how much you want to switch the words around, the truth always stays the truth. So you can blindfold people, but if I blindfold you and I punch you, you're still gonna get punched, even though you don't see the punch coming. You're still gonna get punched. Um, So that's why, journalists, when it comes to writing and journalists and politics and the news, no matter how much they try to shape it in the way that they want it to be shaped, it doesn't, wipe away reality. So that's one core idea there. Orwell also goes into socialism, capitalism. He does lean more towards the reality of having society that's equal and that's fair, and where you don't have a governing group that does all the thinking and all of the moving for the masses. So at the core of it, to get to the point here, why I write, Orwell, he writes when it comes to, about society, about culture, about how it's shaped, about how it functions, the ones that are good, the ones that are bad, and the ones that are just evil. And at its core, to even go deeper, he writes about the human condition, because in the human conditions, human beings, we have to move in groups. We're really like sheep, we move in groups, we operate in groups, and we live in hierarchies, because in hierarchies, people survive. No one is independent. Okay, now human beings, we cannot be independent of each other, because you die. Yeah, being independent, you die, because you can't take on the world by yourself. That's why we have families. That's why we have cities and states and countries and regions and provinces, and because human beings, when you are grouped together, you survive. Just think about how a city functions. Some people work in the food industry. Some people are doctors. Some people work in maintenance. Some people, everybody has a job, and everybody benefits, because you can't do every job. You can't put on every hat. Um, and so humans, we group together, and the type of governments that we have is a type of organization that we believe in. Um, and well, capitalism and well, for the most part, capitalism on the planet right now, business or whatever governments that makes money and that provides jobs and that provides some securities and some equalities for the citizens that it services, it's usually the best government that helps people to stay satisfied. Because when you look at totalitarianism, when you look at complete socialism, when you look at fascism, when you look at communism, well, it doesn't bring about the most satisfaction and the most, um, I guess, for the masses, it doesn't bring about the most success. And ultimately, what humans just want is the ability to eat, the ability to sleep, the ability for good shelter, the ability to not feel poor, the ability to survive. I mean, that's all humans want, and whatever provides them that freedom, that equality, that liberty, um, is the best. And on Earth right now, um, for the most part, governments that focus on freedoms and business and making money and more on development and prosperity rather than policing the people, they oftentimes are more successful. But governments that focus on just policing the people, yeah, you're never gonna win, because people are hungry, and when it comes between life and death or doing what the government wants, well, I mean, no one wants to die. So yeah. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say about this work. Very very complex. It's not a narrative. It's really a collection of ideas and belief systems, and what works in society. Again, Orwell's work, even Animal Farm in 1984. Um, they're you know they have a lot to say about society. Uh, they're not narratives. You really got to take your time to think about them, and um, to see what he's truthfully saying. All right, that's all I have to say. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.